All right, I'm back. I'm going to discuss the system that the tool industry, specifically the ones that talk about dust and water prevention, intrusion prevention, and also what they've sort of started using in some of the tool companies. I think Makita has some tools that are water resistant to a certain degree. I'm not going to go into that because I don't really know a whole lot about that and which tools are and are not water and or dust resistant. But originally the IP system was sort of adopted and standardized by the electromechanical industry. And from those standards that they kind of use for electronic devices, other industries have sort of adopted those standards to describe their resistance to water and dust, in intrusion in their products. Specifically, a lot of the tool companies that manufacture and make these toolboxes, they often describe, their IP ratings. That way it lets the consumer know what these boxes should be able to tolerate based on laboratory tests that were designed to sort of test the rating system. So the IP on here is going to stand for ingress prevention. That's going to be, and then the two numbers after that are what's going to dictate the level of resistance to dust intrusion and water intrusion, respectively. So your 5 is going to be your dust prevention. 0 is going to be basically no protection at all. The scale goes from 0 to 6. So most of the time you see a lot of these electronics nowadays, especially the ones made in the last year or 3 years maybe, they're going to have a 6. Usually it's a little bit easier to keep dust out. Now, maybe not the finest particulates, something that's microscopic, but it's going to keep out the bigger, the biggest, or the some of the bigger particles and the bigger particles of dust. So anyway, this is going to be a 5. This is going to be, it's protected against dust. Most dust, it's not entirely, you're going to be able to set this in the corner of a room and there's not going to be any dust that's going to get in it. Now, if you drop it in, a thing of dirt, a sand, the finer sand, the more easier it'll be to have sand to get inside here. But, generally speaking, from day-to-day use, storage, you can put something in here and it's not going to get dusty. It's not going to get dirty. 6 is going to be dust tight, which means you're not going to have any dust at all get in. I believe the 2.0 system and the Milwaukee Packout system feature, I think, at least a 6 rating. So you're not going to get any silica dust in here, and you're going to get any of the finest particles of sand are not going to get in here. As far as the 5 goes, the dust is not going to be prevented completely from getting in, but there's not going to be enough in here that's really going to matter or interfere with the way that this box operates and the stuff inside operates. The stuff that you're storing, there's not going to be enough dust on it or sand on it to matter as far as its functionality and its productivity. Then we're going to move on to the second number, which is the 3 here. That's going to be the level of water intrusion prevention, with 0 being, of course, the lowest and 8 being the highest. It's very rare you're going to find something that's a 68. Now, like I said, a lot of these newer phones and electronic devices, they're going to be 8. The ones that you can kind of take and dive with, those are going to be level 8. Even if they have an additional case surrounding it, they're going to be an 8. You can take that beyond 1 meter. So if we're going by the SAE system or the U.S. standard system, you're talking 3 feet and below. So we're talking 10 feet, 12 feet should be able to keep the water out of it. Now, some of them might have a time limit on that. So they might say, up to 1 meter or 2 meters or 3 meters for 30 minutes. This guaranteed water intrusion prevention. But anyway, this is going to be a 3. So that means you're going to be able to spray this with water. You're going to be able to spray like the lid with water. But I think that if you are turning the box over here and you're spraying with a jet underneath here, that it's not going to prevent that from getting in. Now, every time, no, water might not get in. But eventually, I think water will inevitably get in because water is a powerful force. I can't remember the rating of the Pack Out and the Tough System 2.0, but I want to say they're at least a 4, and they might even be a 5 or a 7. But, just know that the higher the rating, the higher that second number, the higher water resistance is going to have. You go from, you're going to be able to leave this box in the rain. You're going to leave this in the rain. You're not going to have to worry about water getting in it. Now, if you were to drop this in the water, is it going to keep water from getting inside? I don't know. Maybe we'll test it out and see that, if you take this to the lake, if you take this to the beach, theoretically, sand should not get in here. Theoretically, if you drop it in the water, will it get water in it? I don't know. If you can splash it, yes, and water's not going to get in it. But does that mean like if you drop it and this floats, is that considered a splash, or what is that considered? I'm just going off this based off of what I know from over the years and kind of paying attention to these sort of things and kind of going from there. 7 is going to be immersion up to 1 meter. So if you're dropping this, if you're getting, pretty much you can get this wet in any day-to-day use. If you get this wet, it's going to be fine. Not this particular box, but a particular box with a 50, I don't think you're going to find a box with a 57 rating, because if it can keep water out up to that level 7, it's going to be able to keep dust out to that level. So usually you see these kind of go hand in hand. I don't think you're going to see a 54 or a 55 rated box, because if it can keep that level of water out, that you can spray this with a water jet and the water's not going to get in it, you're probably not going to get dust in it either. And I'm just kind of thinking out loud and sort of coming up with scenarios in my mind. If it makes sense, it makes sense to me in the way that my mind works. If I'm wrong, feel free to tell me. We'll put this to the test. We'll put it in some water, I'll weigh it down, and we'll put some rocks in it or something, or put paper towels in there so we can sort of see if we get any water intrusion, and we'll go from there. But these boxes will be able to keep sand out, some smaller dust particles. It'll be able to keep rain out. I think I said that already. If you splash this with water, it'll be fine. If you drop it in the lake, like I said, we'll test that. If you drop it in the ocean, we'll test that. If you leave it outside in a thunderstorm, it should be fine. As long as it's not getting blown and tossed around in the wind, it'll keep the water out. But anyway, just want to kind of go over the water intrusion resistance, the egress protection of any particular box or item. Just know that the higher these numbers, the better protected the items are going to be. Now, you may not need to spend the money, and you may not need a 68 rated box. You might be fine with a 65. And I think for most people, that's going to be fine. You're going to keep the dust, dirt, silica dust out of the box, and they'll also be able to leave it outside in the rain. You'll be able to leave it in the back of the truck. If you're at a job site and you go to lunch and it starts raining, this will be fine. If you're at the lake, if you're at the beach and it starts raining, you can put your valuables in here, your sensitive items, papers, what have you, and this can get wet by the rain, by the thunderstorm, and you'll be fine. Nothing's going to get wet in here. At least it shouldn't, and it shouldn't get wet to where it's going to cause a problem. One thing I just kind of thought of, that if you keep these bins in here and are able to put things in these bins, that is just another sort of level of protection that you're going to have from water intrusion. So, for instance, if you leave this box in or leave this box in, you do have kind of a little bit of a pseudo seal around the edge here, and that's going to help prevent stuff from water or dust or dirt from getting in here as well. So not only do you have the little rubber gasket around the sides, but you have, you know, the little, you know, contact points here that go all the way around the box. They're going to kind of keep everything intact, and also, you know, offer a little bit of a protection. You know, that goes to the rating system as far as the dust goes, where you might have like a 2 or a 3, just with the seal that you get right here. You know, the screws are not going to get out, the wires aren't going to get out. You know, the dust should not get in, and it's going to offer just a little bit of water protection. Now, if a couple drops get in here, this should provide sufficient protection to not let those drops get in here. Now, if this whole box floods, then this ain't going to do nothing for you. But anyway, so I've already kind of gone over what I intended to go over. Just sort of, I don't script these at all, so I'm just kind of thinking off the top of my head a little bit, and I kind of think of scenarios and go from there. Just kind of how my mind works and kind of what I like to do. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. I usually try to respond to everybody, at least give you a like, let you know that I at least read your comment and that I took your advice or took what you said into consideration or valued that you said anything at all. Peace.